Okay, so if you had to choose the coach or the head of JFF, which one would you take?
I would take neither at this point in time under the current dispensation. A lot of things would have to definitely change.
Talking about politics in sports, Andrew, you're the president of Boys Town and the coach of Umberland. And persons are saying this is a conflict of interest. Convince them or convince us that it is not. So
no, I don't have to convince them. They just have to listen.
Welcome, Sports Nation, to Sports DTM, the sports channel where we call sports down the middle. You can expect the latest in sports news, views, and reviews from our resident analysts. No sports topic is too controversial, and no team or player is above criticism. So just smash that subscribe button and ring that notification bell to make sure you don't miss out on our balanced offering of riveting sports content. And don't forget to like, share, and leave a comment below. Welcome to Sports DTM.
Greetings, Sports DTM fans, and welcome to another episode of Sports Down the Middle, the channel of undiluted sports content. Today, we have in our Sports DTM virtual studio, the undisputed, let me not go there, marketing consultant, football manager, former Premier League champion, coach, a man of many hats, but a lover of football, the one and only Andrew Price, OD. Any other honor yet?
No, those are the accolades that I have at this point in time. I hope in the future, the government of Jamaica will find it in their goodness of their heart to give me more. But I continue to work assiduously to help young people.
And welcome to the Sports DTM virtual studio. Tell us a little about yourself, which sports you follow, which teams are your favorite teams, and how you got involved in football.
I follow all sports. As a matter of fact, I participated in a lot of sports when I was attending school. I went to St. George's College. While there at St. George's College, I won everything that was on offer there. Won Pepsi, won 2 Colts titles, triple champions at Manning Cup. Also played Sunlight, and believe it or not, I got a medal at Champs in 1983 when Champs was kept at Sabina Park and St. George's College, and I actually got a bronze medal in the long jump in class 2. Coming second to 2 Clarendon College athletes in 1983. So I dabble in all sports, and I'm a lover of all sports. But of course, my main focus on the sport that I love a lot is football. And I think that is what has really put me on the map. And it's my participation in the beautiful game.
I didn't hear you mention Arsenal, but because I'm an Arsenal fan, I'm going to remind you that
That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. It doesn't have to.
Well, you know, if you want to be specific, yes, I'm a gunner. You know,
this is
I'm
a
a
setup.
gunner. I am a supporter, long-standing supporter of Arsenal.
Must be rough right now.
Thank you for reminding the fans that there are still dedicated Arsenal fans out there.
Well, everything in life is cyclical, you know. Sometimes you have your ups and downs. There was one point when Manchester United wasn't doing very well in the 70s. Then came Sir Alex Ferguson, and they went through a purple patch. They're still trying to regain that under Ole. But like I said, everything in life is cyclical, and what we have to do is just be patient with our clubs. And if you are supportive of our club, you should continue to support it in good times and bad times.
And how did you get involved in football?
Well, actually, it started at prep school. I was attending Alpha Kinder Prep, and at about the age of 7, I always saw the kids playing on the field, the older kids, and I just wanted to get involved, and I just started to play. And the coach, even though I was younger than the rest of the players, saw my aggression and my tenacity and asked me to try out for the team, and I tried out for the team. and I made the team as a 7-year-old. And then I continued to play Alberta Cup for another 4 years until I left and went to St. George's College. So that's how I really got involved in football. Actually, my father used to carry me to games at the National Stadium in the 70s in the halcyon days of Santos Football Club. So, I really liked the sport and got involved in the sport in that way. I remember seeing people like Dove Marston playing, Alan Cole, people like Clarence Prentice playing, and those people really inspired me and got me hooked on the sport.
And you're well known as a football coach. How did you got involved in coaching?
Well, I got involved in coaching fortuitously. Carl Brown was seconded to the national team when I was playing for Boys Town. And because he was seconded to the national team, they required somebody to coach a team, and it just fell down on me. So that is how I actually got involved. I was a player coach for a while until I decided to stop playing, and then I became a coach full time. But I think Carl Brown was one of the persons who influenced me to get into coaching at Boys Town.
And I see you have not looked back since.
No, I mean, it's something that I have a lot of passion about, and I continue to do it. And I'll see how long I can continue to do it. But I'm very passionate about the game, and I enjoy being on the field and trying to help individuals be the best they can be.
I hear you talk about the passion a lot, but is coaching something learned, or is it a natural gift?
I think it has to be a little of both. You have to learn. I've learned from several great coaches over the years. People like Dennis Day, Carl Brown, Jackie Walters, Winston Chungfa, Leighton Duncan, Jeffrey Maxwell. I've learned a little from a lot of these coaches. Wendell Downswell, Liebert Aleman. I can't call so many coaches' names. Steve Buckner. A lot of good coaches I've learned from them. I've played with them, and I take little bits and pieces out of all of them and make myself into the type of coach that I am. I've learned a lot from so many of these people. Bradley Stewart comes to mind also. So you take little pieces of knowledge that you gain from being associated with these individuals, and you put it in your own makeup, and you make your own philosophy, and you drive forward.
So, Andrew, I have a quick one for you. What do coaches look for when they're recruiting players?
Well, it's all about scouting. You have to look at the talents, and you have to look at the attitude. Attitude is very important. The player may be a diamond in the rough, maybe doesn't have the type of technical skills that he should have, but if he has the tenacity and has the passion and wants to do well, willing to listen, willing to learn. Sometimes you get players who believe that they know everything and you can't teach them anything more because they think that they're their own genius. But, I prefer working with players who are willing to learn, willing to improve, and willing to ask questions. And, those are the type of individuals that I prefer working with.
So you have spoken about the players and individual you're working with. It then takes a certain type of skill set or qualities to become a good coach, right?
Yes, it does. It does. A good coach is one who's willing to listen, one is willing to take feedback from their players, one who's able to critique their players without tearing them down. And you have to be able to build them back up after they have had bad games. So, sometimes a coach has to be a mentor, has to be a father figure, so, you have a varied personality as a coach, and each individual has different coaching styles, and I have my own.
So that sounds good. It sounds like there has to be some amount of chemistry between player and coach as well.
Definitely. It can't be a situation where there's no communication between yourselves and the players. It can't be a situation where you keep telling them what to do and they don't know why they are doing it. You explain to them why they are doing things and you develop a relationship. Sometimes you have to give tough love, and another time you have to give a halo effect where you praise them when they have done well. So, it's a myriad of feelings that you have to evoke out of the player. And that's what good coaches do. They are able to look at players, psych them up and decide whether they need to push them hard or whether they need to handle them with kids' gloves. And depending on the type of personality that individual has, you have to find how you can get to that individual.
Sounds like a lot along the lines of player management, personalities, and we see that you have established a sports management entity, Price Sports Management. Tell us a little bit about how that was established.
Well, that was established after a while. I've been in coaching. A lot of kids would come to me and say that they want football scholarships to go overseas. I myself got a football scholarship to play at Florida International University after leaving St. George's. So I know the ropes. So I would basically talk to these schoolboy players and let them know what is required of them, what they'll encounter, and assist them. Also, I try and see if I can assist players, young players who want to become professional, to lead them in the right direction.
So you're like I'm sorry, Andrew, you're like an agent or intermediary?
Yes, more intermediary, because as a coach, I can't be an agent.
Okay.
So I'm more an intermediary. As you know, FIFA rules, you can't be a coach and be an agent. So what I do is I direct the players in the right direction and give them some tips and hints of how they can succeed whenever they have been successful to either get a contract or a scholarship.
Well, as you mentioned, intermediaries or agent, do you think Jamaica is at the place where the agents are finding that role in football? Because we see it happening for years in Europe and South America, but is Jamaica anywhere close to building that agent role?
Well, a lot of the agents that we currently have in Jamaica aren't really active. Most of the agents are from overseas, and a lot of them have Jamaican background. And you have to take the FIFA test and pass the test. You have to have a lot of networking. It's very important that you can communicate with clubs globally and have a good relationship with people from different clubs. So it's not just about taking the FIFA agent test. It's also being able to network with clubs and coaches and technical directors throughout the world so that you can place your coaches. It also means that you have to have a good eye where you can scout players, look at good talent, and then see where that talent would be best suited to get further development. So, just taking the agency test is one thing, but you have to be able to network and have to have a relationship with a lot of clubs and a lot of universities overseas where you can help place the individuals who want to be placed.
Okay. What was your vision for the PSM, and has that vision materialized as yet?
Yes, I believe the vision has done well. I have assisted a lot of individuals in getting scholarships. I have assisted a lot of players in directing them to agents where they have gotten professional contracts. I think one of my biggest achievements was to be able to get Shamar Nicholson to get a overseas contract while playing for Boys Town, because people would normally say that, well, if you play at Boys Town, you can never get a contract. You have to go to Portmore, or you have to go to Cavaliers, or you have to go to Waterhouse to get a contract. And Shamar was able to stay at Boys Town and get a contract to Slovenia, where he got his first professional contract. So, it's about having fixity of purpose and knowing the talent that you have, that you're working with, and finding the right agent that can move the player.
Okay. So outside of Shamar Nicholson, are there any other success stories or stars at Boys Town?
No. Well,
Shamar is the biggest success story for Andrew Price.
It is, No, I mean, I used to do some work with Hardware, young Jamil Hardware, and when he used to play in the USL. So a lot of the Boys Town players, a lot of the players that I've assisted, come from the Trenchtown area. So I've assisted those individuals. But there's also a lot of individuals who I've assisted in colleges, because being on the college circuit where I used to play, I know a lot of friends who are now college coaches now. So you can direct players to those coaches now so that they can look at them and scout them and decide whether they want to give them scholarships or not. So the work continues, and I do it both for male and female. Once I see talent, and I believe that the talent is good enough to represent themselves and the country well, I will seek out coaches and seek out agents to give them further propelling to get into their goals.
Andrew, I know you're somebody who has a never say die approach, and we watch you using that motto throughout your time at Boys Town. But how does proper management plays in the success of an individual or individual player?
You have to have a good team around you. You know, as a coach, you can't be the only person on the beat all. You have to have a good team. You have to have a good support staff, good background staff, good assistant coaches, good management. You also have to have a relationship with the players' parents, because you have to understand that the players' lifestyle can also affect their play. So, you know, you need to know where they're coming from, what their household is like, are there struggles, what can you do to improve them? Because when the player comes to the field, you want him to come there comfortable, ready to play football and ready to put in some proper work. You don't want any distractions. And there may be distractions at home that may affect a player's game. So it's always good to know the family and the siblings of your players and get a good handle of what kind of environment they're coming from.
Yeah, Andrew. So one of the biggest distractions that have taken place is the pandemic over the last year or so. How has that affected your prize sports management as well as the players that you interact with?
Well, to be honest, since March of 2020, it has affected Jamaica's football significantly. And I think we have retarded our development spurt a lot over this year and 3 months. It's going to affect even at the schoolboy level. Not being able to play any schoolboy football last year really deprived a lot of youngsters an opportunity to get football scholarships overseas. So, you know, we have lost a year or two of individuals that we could have probably pushed forward and pushed on to other opportunities that weren't there because of the COVID pandemic. But what we have to do once we have restarted football and we start playing back again, we have to work assiduously to get them up to scratch to see if we can move on the next set of players and give them the opportunity.
So how do you feel about the cancellation? Do you think it was the right decision to cancel the Premier League in particular?
No, I don't think so. I think that's when the Premier League was cancelled in March the 11th, there was only one death in the country. And I think that we were a little bit premature in cancelling. We should have continued to wait and look at it. And we could have possibly completed last season, because we had 3 rounds left plus the playoffs. And if we had continued, we would have been able to finish those games, and not only finish those games, we'd have put in place proper protocols, which would have been working protocols that we can use right now, and we would have been able to resume football a lot quicker. But because we canceled the season, we really set back the whole protocol structure that you would have put in place to participate in a COVID pandemic. Now we are laid off now for a year and 3 months. So we're really behind the 8 ball now. And though the Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Sports have given us the green light, I don't believe that the competition will start before next month. So it's really a big setback. A lot of players have lost a lot, because football, as you know, for some of them, it's their only means of income, and some households depend on these players to provide. So that's been a real setback.
Yeah, Andrew, quite so a big setback. And I mean, we got the announcements of the reopening, we got the announcements of the approvals, but even with that, we hear sounds out there that we're going to be playing probably next month into the latter part of the year. What's the reactions to the JPL getting the approval?
Well, the approval is all good, because at least it restarts football. But from a personal point of view, I would have preferred that this season would have been cancelled and we start the season in August and have 9 months of football than to play 3 months of football now then we break for 2 months, start back in November, and then end again late. So, we have really distorted the normal football schedule because of the start. But I guess the start back football is going to be good for the players. They want to get back on the field of play. They have been yearning and eager to go, and they want to start earning so they can provide for their families. So I'm really happy for the players that the green light has been given.
Good stuff. And a number of persons are of the view that politics in management is really hurting the national program. What is your view on this? How do you feel about this view?
I've always told people, football politics is worse than real politics in Jamaica. And it just comes with the territory. Everybody wants to be the good cop and nobody wants to play the bad cop. But it's it is what I would say. I want to find the right word to say. It is something that goes with the territory, and for people to have leadership and to have power, they have to have the support of their peers. And sometimes people have to draw the line and decide who they support. And sometimes it gets very political. I am one who is more about the development of the sport to see that we can get the best out of the sport, that individuals can use the sport as a vehicle where they can uplift themselves and better their families and their situations. I'm not about the politics.
That's good.
Talking about politics in sports, Andrew, you're the president of Boys Town and the coach of Umberland. And persons are saying this is a conflict of interest. Convince them or convince us that it is not. So
no, I don't have to convince them. They just have to listen. I have been at Boys Town since 1987 as a player and as a coach and as an administrator. And I've been doing that for free from 1987.
Wow.
Now, an opportunity provided. I'm the only, at the time, I was the only Premier League coach who didn't get a salary. I did it out of the love for the game and the love for the sport. As a matter of fact, I contributed more than getting from Boys Town because I wasn't a salaried individual. Now, it so happens that an opportunity came up where Mike Henry, the chairman of Humble Lion, approached me and gave me a challenge, and I took on the challenge. But at the same time, my roots are still with Boys Town. I've been there from 1987, and it's a long-standing situation. And the people of Boys Town asked me to come back to the club and not leave it fully, to provide some leadership and some guidance. So they asked me to be the president of the club and elected me the president of the club. So I continue to provide leadership and governance roles for the club, but we already have a coaching staff and people who coach at Boys Town. And like I said, Humble Lion plays in the Premier League and Boys Town plays in the Super League. And my concentration is the development of the age group sports in Boys Town. And I'm talking about under 10 grassroots, under 13, under 15, under 17. I want to develop more Shamar Nicholsons out of Trenchtown so that they can go on and be big players for Jamaica and professionals. So I believe that it's something that I can do easily, and it is not a distraction and it's not a conflict of interest.
Interesting, Andrew. Have a quick one for you. So the
Sure.
Reggae Boys recently announced their squad to tour Japan. And out of that squad, we recognize that there are a number of players, whether they are UK-based or local. Some of them are even unattached, probably even a Ravel Morrison. What's your reaction to the announcement of the squad and the players involved?
Well, one of the things I've always said, I believe that whether you come from Mucko in Clarendon or you come from Bristol in the UK, the best players must represent this country. And I don't believe that players who are overseas based, if they don't have the quality that our local talent has, they shouldn't be in the team over them. I believe it's incumbent on the technical staff to pick the best core group of players that can do Jamaica the best.
The technical staff or the coach?
But the technical staff, because the coach has a technical staff with assistant coaches.
Okay,
so it has to be the technical staff that picks the team.
I'm just getting there.
Yeah, and in picking that team, he must pick the best core group of people who can give him the results that he wants out there. And you're going to have people who are overseas based, and you're going to have local players who are good enough to make the squad. And it is for those local players here in Jamaica to show their mettle, show their worth, and show that they deserve to be in the core group of players. And I'm sure that if they do that, they'll be selected. But everything must be done on merit.
What are our chances? You know, it's Gold Cup year, World Cup qualifiers. You think we can win the Gold Cup and qualify top of the group for the World Cup?
To be quite honest, because of the whole COVID situation, I am not looking at trying to win the Gold Cup. If I were the coach of the team, I don't know what Tapa's plans are, but if I were the coach of the team, I will be looking for combinations, using the Gold Cup to look at various combinations that I would use for the World Cup qualifiers that start in September, because I believe that's the most important thing, that we qualify for Qatar 2022. So I would use the Gold Cup as good practice to find out the various formations, the various players that can gel together to provide the proper chemistry. So going into September's first round of games, I will have a fairly good idea of who I want to use. Now, if in doing that, we do well for the Gold Cup, so be it. For the last 3 Gold Cups, we have got to the semifinals. So we have set the bar very high and we don't want to lower it. So our expectation is that we must at least reach the semifinals in this year's Gold Cup.
You mentioned different combinations, but describe to us what is your coaching style or your style of play?
My style of play is to basically play attacking football but have sound defense. My preferred formation is a 4-3-2-1 formation. I like 4 defenders. I like orthodox fullbacks, natural center halves, and 2 holding midfielders, and have your 3 attacking players and a good striker who can hold up the ball. And that is one of the reasons why Shamar did so well at Boystown, because I used to play him up top by himself because of his size and his height, and we wouldn't have the midfielders play balls in team and they play off for him, and he would get assists and he would get goals.
So in essence, Andrea, you're a tactician in terms of how you set up your team.
Definitely, and it also depends on the opponents that are going to play. Sometimes I might have to adjust my normal attacking style depending on the type of opponents that I have to play, and I might have to very well change the formation. And I'm the type of coach that even in training sessions, I will use multiple formations so that when the team needs to adjust, it doesn't take them long to make that adjustment when they are playing against teams that are proving to be difficult. So it's always good to work on various formations in your training sessions.
Given the tactics that you just mentioned earlier with regards to Gold Cup and your personal coaching style, if you had the opportunity to apply those tactics as the coach of Jamaica, the Jamaican national team, senior men's national team, would you take this job?
It depends. It depends on what I'm given as my resources, and I have to know the latitude in which I can operate. Some coaches are a little bit different from other coaches, but there are certain requirements that I would want. I would want my own backroom staff. I would also want to have the opportunity to have my selections and not be questioned about my selections, and just put my record on the line. If my record on the line is not good enough, then you get rid of me. But I'm one of those coaches who don't entertain interference.
Okay, so if you had to choose the coach or the head of JFF, which one would you take?
I would take lead at this point in time under the current dispensation. You know, a lot of things would have to definitely change.
Mr. Die, never say die attitude, boss. Arsenal fan.
Yeah. Under the current dispensation, we have to change. You know, things are not the way it should be. But if the dispensation should change, then I would give it some amount of consideration. I've been approached by a lot of people to look at it on a serious level, both in the diaspora and here in Jamaica. But like I said, under the current dispensation, it wouldn't be something attractive to me.
So Andre, you're talking about changes though. What are some of the changes what are some of those changes?
Well, some of those changes is that we have to ensure that more stakeholders are involved in the running of Jamaican football. We can't have 13 parish presidents deciding on the vision and where football should go. We need all stakeholders to be involved. We need players to be involved. We need referees. We need ISA to be involved. We need GISA to be involved. We need the women's program to be involved. We need all the stakeholders to be involved. The clubs have to be part of it. You can't just have 13 individuals deciding where football should go for Jamaica. You need more involvement and more stakeholder representation.
That sounds reasonable.
So based on your experience and knowledge of the sport, what do you think we can do to develop football more in Jamaica?
Well, one of the things we have to do is improve our surfaces. Our surfaces are very pitiful, and the only way you can improve skill is to improve our surfaces.
I'm sorry,
we had this debate on the channel
my internet just broke a while ago. What did you say we need to improve?
We had this debate on the channel.
We have to improve our infrastructure. Our infrastructure is not of the level that will provide quality players. We can provide those quality players, but we know we are provided going against the grain. You know, right now we only have 2 good football fields in Jamaica. Well, 3, if you include Catherine Hall, Sabina Park, and the National Stadium. You know, we have to have more proper playing facilities, and especially at the grassroots level. We have to have these young kids that are 9 and 10 and 11 and loving football, playing on surfaces where they can develop their skills without looking down to see if the ball is going to hit a stone and jump up on them and then miss control. So, you know, we have to improve our facilities, improve our infrastructure, start looking at players from this young age of 9 where they're very impressionable, allow them to play, allow them to develop, and let them matriculate through the various age groups until we start finding world beaters by the time they're 17, 18, and clubs would want them and they'll be able to play for the national program.
True.
And where should this discussion start?
This discussion should start at the JFF, and it should be with all stakeholders. It can't be just about 13 people.
And Andrew, I hear you continuously saying about 13 people, but how do we actually move to get that change that we so desperately need to move the football forward?
Well, I think right now, FIFA's come down here and looked at the JFF constitution and has decided that changes have to be made. So I know something is in process now where that will start, where more stakeholders will have a say at the table to make a difference. But like I said, we have to get there to really make meaningful change.
What would you say is your your biggest accomplishment as a coach?
Well, my biggest accomplishment of a coach is to see my players from where they start to see where they have ended up. I feel good when I can see a player who I have coached, had a speech impediment, used to be teased, became a great footballer, got a job, started to work, was able to own his car, and then was able to buy a house and support his family. Those are the things that make me feel good and make me want to continue coaching. And there are the stories about Shamar Nicholson, lost his father at a very early age, and was about to go into violence and use football as a vehicle to put the tragedy behind him. and start to play football. And look where football has put him now. He's playing in the Belgian Premier League. And, you know, it's an indication that with a fixity of purpose, and if you gear your mind and put your head down and work hard, good talent can come out of this country and be successful.
So I heard you mention that the young man had a speech impediment.
Yes.
Was it that you provided services that helped him to get over that?
Yes,
Apart
because
from coaching him?
Yeah, but in coaching him, you know, he was able to come out of his shell because using football as the vehicle, he was able to express himself, start speaking now. If you hear him talk now, you would believe it is the same individual that was there 10 years ago, because he has improved, he has gotten more confident, he's willing to talk, and he has made a good man of himself, you know. You know, he has a car, he has a job, and, you know, he has his own house now. And things like these are the things that I use these individuals to inspire other youngsters. So once the cycle changes and new set of youngsters come in, you use these individuals. I ask them to come to my training sessions and speak to the players and tell them what they need to do to be the best.
Are there any more Shamar out there? And
Several.
Who are those players that we can look forward to?
I'm not going to call any names, but there are several. In that small community of Trenchtown there's a load of talent. As you know, Trenchtown is the bedrock of culture, entertainment, and sports in Jamaica. And in that little 10-mile radius there, where you have Denontown, Tivoli Gardens, Federal Gardens, Wilmot Gardens, Arnett Gardens, there is a wealth of talent in that area. And it's kids just looking for an opportunity where they can get a chance to express themselves and excel and get the right opportunities to be the best that they can be.
Is there anybody out there you want to big up?
Well, Father Hugh Sherlock. I want to big up Father Hugh Sherlock, even though he's dead. He created Boys Town in 1914, Trenchtown, and he has really done yeoman service to produce an oasis where a lot of people thought that you couldn't get any good things out of Trenchtown. And Boys Town is one of those things that people need to know. It's a situation where there's a lot of camaraderie, where people can go to get a meal, where people can go to interact. And it's one of the reasons why I'm still at Boys Town, because I saw what Father Sherlock wanted Boys Town to be, and I will continue to assist in the best way I can in making people be better individuals so that they can be good representations in society. But people like Carl Brown, I want to big up Carl Brown. Carl Brown really inspired me down at Boys Town, and really he's one of the reasons why I'm still down there, because, you know, we know that we are helping people be the best that they can be. Of course, my former coach, Dennis Zadie, God rest his soul also. A lot of the coaches that used to coach me, you know, people like Winston Chongfa, you know, Jackie Walters, you know, all those great coaches, I learned a lot of them. And one thing I can tell you, what the football fraternity, I have made so many friends through football all over the years, whether coaches or former players, people who I've competed against, and we remain close friends. And the football fraternity is a very strong fraternity.
Andrew, I want to thank you so much for taking the time out to talk to the Sports DTM team.
It was my pleasure. Thanks for having me, gentlemen, and continue doing the good work that you're doing. And, you know, I'm always happy to share whenever you want.
Sure. So there you have it, Sports DTM fans. A chat with Andrew Price, OD, coach, manager, former player, marketing consultant, just to name a few. Let us hear from you by leaving those comments in the comment section below. What are your thoughts on this interview? And whatever you want to share about this interview, just leave those comments in the comment section below. And always remember to like, to share, and to subscribe. And to tell a friend, to tell a friend, to tell a friend, to tell all of them friends to come and join the Sports DTM family. Be blessed.